Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, page 36a at the top of the page. The Gemara answers with the words Ra'ui litol ve'ein lo v'hatanya. The Gemara answers the Mishnah does not indicate that the injured party receives compensation. Rather, it indicates that it is fitting for him to take compensation, but in practice he does not receive any compensation. The Gemara asks, but isn't it taught in a Braita that he receives payment for his small ox from the liable party's forewarned ox and for his large ox from the liable party's innocuous ox? Evidently, he does receive payment. The Gemara answers, this Braita is also referring to a case where the injured party seized the defendant's ox, in which case the court allows it to remain in his possession. The court cannot compel the defendant to pay him ab initio, which means lechatchila, right away, from beginning. The Mishnah teaches in a case where an ox was injured by one of two oxen that were pursuing it, if both oxen belonged to one person, both are liable. Rava of Parzika said to Rav Ashi, Rava mi Parzika said to Rav Ashi, should one learn from the fact that both are liable that in a case of innocuous oxen that cause damage, if the injured party wishes, he can collect damages from the proceeds from the sale of this ox, and if he wishes, he can collect from the sale of that ox? Rav Ashi rejected this inference. With what are we dealing here? We are dealing with forewarned oxen, in which case the injured party does not collect damages exclusively from the belligerent ox, but rather from any of its owner's property. Therefore, he can collect from either ox as compensation. Rava of Parzika replied, if the Mishnah is referring to forewarned oxen, say the latter clause of the Mishnah. If one of the belligerent oxen was large and the other one was small, and the injured party says that the large ox caused the damage, but the one liable for damage says no, rather the small ox caused the damage, the burden of proof rests upon the claimant. This is referring to forewarned oxen. What difference does it make to him which one caused the injury? Ultimately, the liable party is required to pay the value of a full ox in any case. Rav Ashi said to him, the latter clause of the Mishnah is referring to innocuous oxen, and the first clause is referring to forewarned oxen. Rav Acha the elder said to Rav Ashi, if it is referring to a case of forewarned oxen, of mu'adin, where compensation is not collected specifically from the belligerent ox, why does the Mishnah state they are liable in plural form? It should have stated the man is liable. And furthermore, what is the word both in the statement? Both are liable referring to what? Why say both? Rather, the first clause of the Mishnah is actually referring to an innocuous ox, to a short tom, and it is the opinion of Rabbi Akiva who says that the injured party and the liable party are partners, and they share ownership of the belligerent ox, and therefore the reason that the owner of the belligerent oxen is liable is that the two of them are available, so he cannot dismiss the injured party by claiming that this ox is not the one that caused the injury. But if the two of them are not available, for example, if one died or was lost, he can say to the injured party, go bring proof that it was this ox that caused you damage, and I will pay you compensation. Hadran Allah Haminiach. We will return to you Haminiach, which means we finished the third chapter of Tractate Bava, and we continue with the fourth chapter, which is called Shor Shenagach Arba V'Chamisha. And it might be referred to as Shor Shenagach. Shor Shenagach Arba V'Chamisha Shvorim Zeh Harzeh. Okay, a new Mishnah. The Mishnah states, with regard to an innocuous ox that gored 4 or 5 other oxen. Wow, this is a real fierce ox. It gored 4 or 5 other oxen, one after the other. Zeh Harzeh. Its owner shall pay the owner of the last one of them half the damages from the proceeds of the sale of the belligerent ox. And if there is surplus value left in his ox, after he pays the owner, he shall return it to the owner of the previous ox that was gored. And if there is still surplus value left in his ox after he pays the owner, he shall return it to the one prior to the previous one. The principle is that the owner of the latest of the oxen gored in succession gains. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Shor Shaveh Masayim, Shor Shenagach, Shor Shaveh Masayim. Okay, Rabbi Shimon says that the division of the compensation is as follows. With regard to an innocuous ox worth 200 dinars, that gored an ox worth 200 dinars, thereby killing it, and the carcass is worthless, the injured party takes 100 dinars. I mean, the carcass is always going to be worth something, no? Anyway. The injured party takes 100 dinars. For example, half the cost of the damage from the proceeds of the sale of the belligerent ox, and the owner of the belligerent ox takes the remaining 100 dinars. If the ox, after goring the first ox, but before compensation has been paid, again gored another ox worth 2 dinars, and the carcass is worthless, the owner of that last ox that was gored takes 100 dinars, and with regard to payment for the previous goring, the owner of this ox that was gored takes 50 dinars, which is half the remaining value of the belligerent ox after 100 dinars were paid to the last injured party, and the owner of that belligerent ox takes the remaining 50 dinars. If the ox, after goring the first 2 oxen but before compensation had been paid, again gored another ox worth 200 dinars, and the carcass is worthless, the last injured party takes 100 dinars, the previous one takes 50 dinars, and the first 2, in other words, the first injured party, and the owner of the belligerent ox divide the remainder, each receiving 1 gold dinar, which is worth 25 silver dinars. Gemara. Whose opinion is expressed in the Mishnah? Apparently, the Mishnah is neither in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, nor in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, see 33a. The Gemara explains, if the Mishnah had been in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, who says that the owners of the gored oxen are considered creditors of the owner of the belligerent ox, then instead of stating this halakha, that the owner of the latest of the oxen gored in succession gains, the Mishnah should have stated that the owner of the earliest of the oxen gored in succession gains, since the creditor to whom the ox is initially liened collects first. And if the Mishnah had been in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, who says that the belligerent ox belongs to its owner and to the injured party, who are considered partners in the ownership of the ox, then instead of stating this ruling, that if there is surplus value remaining in the ox after he pays that owner,